Good afternoon, it's Michael here from Michael's Card Art, and today we've got the making of the third card in the series, and the series was really focused on this piece of die. Now, what we said that we were going to do in this series was to create 3 different cards using this die format. And in week 1, or in video 1, we created this card using a lace background with some butterflies. In this one, card number 2, we created this little beauty, still using the die in situ, as you can see there, using a totally different background. This time it was using a DSP and an embossed folder to create our background for our second card. The third card is something totally off the wall, just as beautiful, I'd say. However, a totally different format. And this is the card, the third card that we have in the series, and we're going to reproduce this card today. And basically, what I've done with this one, whereas in the first 2 we kept the die intact, in this one, the third one, we're going to cut up the die and we're going to create a bouquet of the little petals, and we've surrounded it with a die cut that is predominantly of leaves, and we've also supplemented that die cut of leaves with these little die cuts. They're totally unrelated to this die cut, but I just felt like it needed a little bit more oomph around the border. And as one viewer said, this looks like walking through a greenhouse and observing various bouquets and installations of flowers as you walk through the greenhouse. Now, you may not have this die set, and so what I wanted to do, rather than recreate this card in situ, I'm going to take a slightly different approach with that, and rather than using this die set as the to frame up these leaves and our urn of flowers, what I'm going to do is create this leafy foliage in the background without this die set, and I'm going to show you how I would do that. And we're going to use a number of techniques, mainly coloring and embossing, and also just looking at what other techniques we can use. We might even do the butterflies, but we might emboss those with some script or some musical notes or something like that. So let's see how that goes throughout the session. It won't be a long video, but what I will do is I'll show you how I've colored each of these elements as we go along the way, and then we'll bring it all together and we'll see how it goes. We will use potentially some DSP for the background, and we'll grab out some butterflies as well, maybe some different types of butterflies, but basically the same sort of card design, but we'll do it without having this die set, and that will afford you the opportunity to explore your stash of dies and see if you've got something similar that you can create this sort of look and feel. But for all intents and purposes, all 3 cards are very different. They all leverage the same die cut, but just presented in a slightly different manner. Okay, so without further ado, let's move on, and I'll show you how we're going to look at doing this if you don't have these particular dies. So we'll start off with a piece of cardstock. Now, all of my cardstock, as you may know, I always start with white. Even when I'm doing leaves and cutouts and things like that, I generally use white, and then I color it up myself to give me the tone that I want. And what I was thinking is I'll just get some foliage started. Now, the best thing to do, I think, is to secure yourself a die set that has good veined leaves. These, when they have such sharp patterns within them, they color up well, they look better than just the plain, flat dye. So I've used this one here to give us some contrasting color. So like in this one, we've used foliage or that's probably similar to this, but not quite as long. And so that's the first thing that I'd recommend. Get yourself some dyes that have good, strong features within them. And next, this is the dye that I used. Now, where I got this from, I can't tell you, because I did inherit a number of dyes and stamps from people who no longer craft. And so I was basically handed a whole heap of stuff that didn't have names or sources on them. But you may have something in your stash that has lots of little buds on it that you can use in lieu of having this one here. So there's that. The urn is pretty straightforward. If you don't have an urn, I'm just looking at some other ones that I've got here. Let's just have a quick look. So yes, so this is the urn that I've used. It was this one here. And this is the intended foliage to fit on that urn. I have used this foliage to fit on the urn, but what I have done is I'm using it as a placeholder so I can place the buds into it, because this, when it die cuts, has lots of little holes that I can thread the buds into. Oh, excuse me, I thought I was going to sneeze then. And you'll see how I'll bring those two together there. What else was there? I think that's pretty straightforward. It's going to be a very simple card to bring together. Now, the first thing I want to do is just bring in some colouring techniques of the leaves and also the branch that I'm going to use. And I'll just grab that branch here. There we go. So we've got our leaves. I've got a number of these ready to go, but they're in varying sizes, and we can utilize that. And the other thing I'll show you in this instance is how I've colored how I've colored these, the branches and that. You'll find that in video 1 of this 3-part series of how I colored this. But you will see that it's basically I've daubered it with green, with an old olive green, and also a soft suede, which is a brown, and then I've embossed or Versamarked the cores of the little buds. So that was in part 1 of the series, and what I will do now is I'll also show you how I shape these before I cut them off. So that's the first part of what I'll show you there. So let's get started. This the card here is 105 centimeters by 14 centimeters. So 105 or 10.5 centimeters by 14 centimeters. Okay, now let's bring out the coloring, and I'll get that for you underway. I'm going to use, for that, I'm going to use a grey, and in this case I'm using Pebble Path. Now, these dyes are not from Stampin' Up. These dyes are all from an external source, but I don't know whereabouts that external source is. I have seen this and this online before at an Amazon site, I believe, but I don't know whether these came from Amazon. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is colour up our random branches here. And all I'm doing is with a dauber, giving it a bit of a soak in the Pebble Path, and I'm just daubing away to give it some tone and colour. Now, you'll notice I don't necessarily need to cover the whole thing so that you don't see any white. Generally I don't fully colour anything. I like that contrast of colour and tone, and you can see that there. And that also is invaluable when it comes to putting together all of the elements. If you keep the elements coloured in a similar manner, you will have this uniform style going throughout. So for example, these were all daubered. These were all daubered using a dauber. Even the butterflies were. So the whole, all of the elements on this were coloured by a dauber on white cardstock. Now what I'm going to do is, that's enough colour for that. I'm going to emboss the very edges of this frond, just the edges. And it's just randomly, and just a little bit in the centre there. Now I'll just grab some tongs. Okay, some gold embossing powder. And just let's sprinkle it with some powder. Now, when you're embossing, if you over emboss for whatever reason, and it's very easy to over emboss, if I look at that there, you can see where the embossing powder is sitting at the moment. And that's a little too much for my liking, so I'm going to brush some of that off, especially around the center part there. And all I'm doing is just with a fine brush, randomly giving it a bit of a shakedown so that we've got a reduced amount of embossing powder. Now I've just coloured that up there, and you can see it is randomly coloured with gold embossing powder, but that is just exactly what I wanted there. And I've got a few of these, and we may use all of them, or we may just use 3. But there they are there, and those twigs will complement the green leaf foliage and also the gold petals. Now that's the random branches done. Now let's move over and colour, or show you how I colour the leaves. Now what I'm going to do here is very simply, there's 2 halves to each leaf, so I'm going to assume that the leaf, or the half on the right, will get the darker colour, and those on the left will get a lighter colour. Now here are all the elements for the card, and we've got our foliage. Here we've got the grey and gold embossed twigs. We've got our urn. This is the placeholder for these buds once we cut them off. And you can see it's ideal because of these little holes that we've got here. And the thing that I said I was going to show you was how to shape these. Now I did show you in, I think one of the previous shows, but sorry, videos, either 1 or 2. But all I'm doing is using a stylus. The ball helps immensely to shape things, and I've got my twig of buds ready to be snipped off, but I just want to shape them first. Now this will add texture and reality, I suppose, to the finished product. Just be careful that you don't do what I did in my exuberance to press hard into the foam mat. What I did was unleashed a bit of glue from these, and they stuck into the mat. So just be careful that your buds are well dried and that they won't adhere into the mat. These ones are still a little bit sticky, but we're getting the effect that we wanted. And so just with a pair of snips, I'm just going to keep a little bit of stem on there, but I want to take these off as we go, and just to make sure we've got that bit of height in there. That's good. All right, so each of these buds now has a slightly curved look to it, like so. All right, and look, you don't have to do this. This is just me being a little anal and trying to give a sense of reality to these bits of coloured cardboard, which, well, it doesn't hurt them, and I think it adds to the overall product. So just removing these like so, and there's around 17 buds on this stem. So if you don't have this stem and you are using small buds, that will give you a bit of an indication as to how many you might need to, if you're wanting to replicate or case a version of this card. Oops, there's one. Oh yes, it's already been cut. So just a good solid push down with the stylus. There is, you could, if you wanted to do it the right way, and you're just slowly pushing the stylus into the cardstock. Whether you use a large one or a small one, I think it's a personal preference. And I just about finished doing this one. And these last two, well, that one's already been done. Oh, so it's this one. All right. I think it's all we need with the stylus. And slowly prise these off the foam mat. And gently does it. There we go. All right, and I'm going to snip these down like so. All right. And the last one. All right. So there are our buds. And we might just look at inserting these now so they have a chance to dry. I'm just opening up some of these holes where the buds will go in, and they'll be glued into place. Now, obviously, if you don't have the urn, you're not going to have this here. And all I suggest then is, if you're going to just create this, and you could certainly replicate it, you're just wanting a piece of cardstock that really is 3/4 of the width. Sorry, it's a quarter more than the size of the width here, I'd say, quarter or a third. So just make sure you've got that little bit of extra overhang. We are going to curve it so that it sits on the urn like so. And I'm just going to use some glue to now, I'm looking for the remote for my fan. It started to make me cold and I cannot see it. Anyway, it'll turn up hopefully before I catch pneumonia. Okay, enough time spent on that. So I'm just putting some glue down on my craft mat, and what I'm going to do is use it. I'm going to just, with my end of my, I'm going to put some glue on the very end of the stem and insert that in there. So there's one. And I'm just going to go around the piece of cardstock and begin to insert the glued buds into the various holes that are here. And it does require a level of dexterity, I suppose. All right. Just on the front and the back of the stem, and insert it into a hole like so. And what I'm doing is I'm squeezing at the back that glued stem so that it will hold in place. Just a little bit too much glue up there. That can be taken off very quickly and easily. All right. Now, you can just dip the stem of the bud directly into the glue to get the look you want. I'm just making a slightly larger hole there. There we go. All right. It is a little bit messy and a little bit fiddly. I am doing it in my hands, and that's not helping. Now, here we go. Some more buds coming in, and slide those in there, like so. Now, it's best if you work from the top down. The reason I say that is because you get that natural overlap doing it that way, where the buds underneath, the top ones, or the second layer, will have a, will sit over like that. They'll overlap nicely and quite naturally, I think. There we go. Now, I did receive some fabulous suggestions on how to glue, how to keep my elements that I've cut in place, and especially when I'm gluing them. And some were talking about getting various silicone mats and other pieces of adhesive that you can use, but it doesn't, the glue doesn't stick to it. So I've investigated those, and I am going to make a purchase on such an item, because I do find this sticky fingers business with glue most frustrating, because it's difficult to then try and work with cardstock and then keep it in one place rather than sticking to your fingers. Okay. Now, these are coming together very nicely. What I need to do, though, just to open up some more holes here for the, and this one can go in here. Okay, and you can start to see it all taking shape now, and the buds are sitting nicely. I speak too soon. Okay. And that one's like that. No, it doesn't want to play ball. Be careful you don't get the stems too wet like this one has become. Otherwise it will just start to collapse like this one has. Okay. The best thing to do is get that down on the ground. All right. So how many more have we got? We've got about 4 buds left. And the important thing is you do need to cover all of the real estate on this small card to give you the desired effect. So make sure you don't run out of space. There we go. This one's here. No, actually, I'm going to put that there. So remember to give yourself plenty of stem when you cut them off. Don't, oh dear, don't cut these little buds too short. Otherwise, they may be more difficult to handle. Alright, so now I've got to... Oh, where's my phone, Matt? I'm just going to dig another hole, make another couple of holes here. And I may need to get another, colour up another bud. Okay, there we go. And you can see there, it's going in, but it's a bit, there we go. Let's move that over a fraction. All right. Now this one, that's how we put that one there. So that's my second last one. Do I have enough? I think the answer is no. Okay, and there's that one in place. Oh, Michael. There we go. All right. Yeah, so I'll need to give another couple of buds to ensure we've got complete coverage there. Just open that one up a bit. That one can go in there. There we go. Okay. Okay. And just bring that one up a bit. And see, by doing working from the top down, you can see that you do get plenty of coverage. All right, now I need to colour up some more buds, so I'll get that underway. I'll see if I can remedy this one. Okay. There we go. Just had to wrestle that one to the ground a bit. There we go. All right. Yeah, so I need a couple more buds. So let me get started on those now. Now that we've got all the pieces together, what I want to do is start to think about the background. And I want to do some scripting with this. So looking at what we've done in the past, we had the lace background, we had the embossed background. What I'd like to do is some script embossing, and I want to do some colouring of that. And the way to do that, or the way that I think is the most effective to do that, is to grab a blending brush, and I'm going to use a colour called Moody Mauve. Now, we don't have any mauve in any of these pieces, so you may feel we're stepping out into the great unknown. However, trust me, it will come together on the night. Now, all I'm doing is taking the embossing folder that has the script in it. I'm giving it a good soaking of ink. And these are watercolor dyes from Stampin' Up. And I'm just giving it a good coat so it's even on the front. Okay. Now, then what I'm going to do is take the cardstock, and I want the debossed side, that's this side, and the raised text is here, and the recessed text is there. Now I'm just going to close it down like so, and I'm going to get an extra piece of cardstock and show you what I'm going to do. Just grabbing a spare piece now. I cannot see the piece I want. This will do. Okay, so sometimes these embossing folders don't sit the way they should, or don't use the plates that they say they use, and you just have to look at getting some extra bits of cardstock to make a shim that will allow you to get more indentation onto your graphic. Now I'm just going to put that through the embossing machine and I'll bring it straight back. Okay, now here it is, and look at that. It's got a nice sorry, I was just thinking about something as I did that, as I opened that. It's got a really nice finish on that. But I'm going to try one other thing. I'm going to actually I'm going to use a beige cardstock and see what that looks like when I bring. I'm just grabbing the beige cardstock now. Okay, so there's none there. I'll just grab it from here. Do you know what? I've just decided to change my mind, and I'm going to use watercolor paper. I'm going to give this another coat of color. There we go. Why am I using watercolor paper? Look, watercolor paper really has a softness to it, and this one is a slightly creamed color. And I close that down. Let's just see what it does look like. Okay. Now, there's very little difference in that. Only that this one here has a slight, just a slight change of color. It's a lighter color, or it's got more yellow in it. So I'm going to just see what that looks like. I'll wash that off later, and just going to brush some of this away here, and let's dress this. Oh, now to go with that, given that that is a moody mauve, what I'm going to do is I'm grabbing this designer series paper, and I'm going to use that if it looks good. Ooh. And what I was thinking was to bring the pieces together like this, and we might have let's say something like that, and I think under the urn, oops, we'll have this look, and there's our urn there, and we can, you'll have your sentiment just roughly around like this. You'll have your sentiment sitting in there, and it may go in here or it may go there, but that I think is quite stunning. If we look at the two totally different cards, you've got exactly the same feature here, if you like, and we did this design because in case you didn't have this template to use. I like this very much. Do I like it enough to make the card finish? Okay, let's just put this on. Now this will go better with the white, I think, of the flowers here. And if I place this in there and so forth, and bring our urn in. Yes, look, I think I do like that white better than the I've done but then as I look over here, I've just done something that may change everyone's thinking, and oops, upside down. And this is what I've done. See if you can pick it up and see if it doesn't influence you to agree that this is probably the best choice, because now I think it is. I'll get that sorted. And here and here, and I like that better. It finishes it off nicely, and all I've done is I've just highlighted the edges of the white cardstock with Moody Mauve, so like a burnished look to it, and it just finishes it off, I think, nicely. I'm going to put that there, oops, like so, and I might just bring another piece like so. Yes, and then the sentiment will sit under here somewhere like that. Okay, so that's how we're going to go. Oh, here it is here. There we go. And you've got a butterfly or two. Yes, that's exactly what we're going to do. We've got the, yep, that's it. All right, let's start putting the assembly into this. And what I'm going to do, maybe that small one just here, without making it too busy. Yes, just like that. Okay, all right. Do it now, Michael, because otherwise you'll keep dithering. And okay. And there it is. So, it's a card for dimensionals. It'll need to, I don't want to glue these down. I want them to still stand up so that they, don't go flat. And there, and actually that's probably enough. Okay, so first one into play here. Now I'm fine with it hanging over the edge of the DSP that we've got there for it. And here's this one. I'll show you just what I do with the leaves. And I'm really just roughly curling them to give them some texture and some dimension, like so. How's that gluing there? How's it staying? There's one there. Okay, just a couple here. Now, if you don't want to use dimensionals, or you don't want to curl the leaves, it's not a problem. I just like to do it because I like that, I suppose, colour and movement of the look that it gives you. There we go. And that doesn't look so crowded then. And then this one can go here. There we go. And there, and there. And sometimes, you know, you're on the sites and you see somebody's project and you think, oh my goodness, that's fantastic. But I don't have any of that, any of those dies or stamps or whatever. I think the thing that one should do is just take all of those things that you see on the various apps and use them as inspiration. It's impossible to try and copy somebody's work generally, because there's always going to be a difference in shading and colouring. They may cut the paper shorter, longer, wider, have thinner borders, fatter borders. And I think don't get too beat up if you don't have all the equipment that somebody else has displayed. Actually, I might need to do that over here. Give it time. And certainly don't do what I did and you go out and you spend an absolute fortune, a second mortgage practically, on equipment, and you don't know what you're doing with it. It is better to have a small amount of equipment and learn how to use it. And what I did, I just went onto YouTube, and just searched and hunted down for all of the card makers that I could find, and just watched their videos to understand, how do they do that? What are they doing? How do they colour that? What is their colouring technique? Until you find your style. Now, I'm going to curve it in like this because I want to keep the shape of the urn. And to do that, I need to just get those two that I've put there on the inside, and oops, wait there, did I put them there or there? They're up here. Oops, and I'm losing a bud. And there we go. Now what I will do is, I meant to do it before and I forgot. I'm just going to put some dimensionals on top of one another, and I'm going to put those, I'll just show you this, it's about high enough, and to maintain that shape and height of the buds, I'm just going to feed that in here, and that will go there like so. And there you've got another secure point hidden away. All right, that's looking good. So let's get this attached to the DSP. All right, and this has got quite a wide border on it, which I'm happy about. And there we go. Now, if you look at the elements here, they're very, very simple. There's not, oops, there's not a lot of, there's not a lot of things to make this card. Sorry, not a lot of elements were needed in order to make this card, is probably what I was trying to say. Okay, that's that. And what I will do now is a sentiment and a background piece. So a sentiment will be something, and I might just make this a hello card. Oops. And I might put the sentiment up here in this space, like so. And I want a couple of butterflies. Now the butterflies I'm using, or tend to use, if I can find them very quickly. Yes, the ones out of Daffodil Daydream. I like these for two reasons. One, they're a nice size, and two, they've got a nice profile when you finish them, and they're nice and easy to colour, so I'll show you what I mean. Now we really are on the home straight now. So a couple of things that I've done. I've got two butterflies, and the colour I'm going to do the butterflies is a grey on the outer edge of the wings. And I mean, I don't know that I see too many grey butterflies, but you do today. and just colouring those up there. And I want to fill the wings of the butterfly with a I'm going to use the blue, the balmy blue, most unusual combination, but let's show you what it looks like. And I've just got to be careful I don't get too much ink. There we go. See how that, just a fine grey, a bit of white, and then there's the blue. Now this may be a little more difficult to pull off because I've got the grey there, but look, I'll do another one on this side. There we go, that's enough of the grey there. And what colour is this? Blue. And I'll just do this one as well. There you go. And there we go. And I'm going to just, all I'm doing is just dipping the butterfly in there like that. And it's like that. And so there's our first butterfly. Now, and they've got markings. Yeah, that's good. In a previous video, I mentioned that a viewer gave me a round of the table because she said butterflies weren't colourful enough. Didn't she? Didn't they, Leanne? So I'm hoping these ones are interesting enough for Leanne. If you're listening, watching, let me know if you're happy with these butterflies. And to redeem myself, last time I had to name a butterfly after her, so we called it the Daily Butterfly. Anyway, so I've got the butterflies, and I'll put those on dimensionals or on, no, I think actually I'll glue those on. But you'll notice how we've got a very large border here of DSP. Well, it's larger than normal, so it's at least 1 centimetre as opposed to half a centimetre, which is what I usually do. So to compensate, I'm having the finest white border around that. So it just looks, it just finishes it off nicely, if you can see that there. Okay, so very fine white border on our cardstock, and I'll just put some glue on here and we can get this down. Okay, and just being careful to get it in the right position. There we go. I think that's about equidistant from the edges. Okay, now our butterflies, let's put those in. Where's my glue? Oh, here it is, right beside me. Okay, and there's the first butterfly. Yes, let's put that one in here. Right in the middle there, like so. And the other one, I can go here. Let's bring that down like this. Oops. Okay. All right, and the sentiment, I'm just going to put thank you as the sentiment, and I've gold and embossed that with gold, so it sits there, up there like that. So I'll just get that into place. And looking for my pick. I thought I had 3 of these, but I must have misplaced one. And here we go. Actually, what I'll do, I'll just give that a bit of a fold, and it can sit in there like that. Okay, so on the end, and there we go. Now, the good thing about if I'm making something in advance, and it's not for anyone in particular, if I put a sentiment on dimensionals, I can easily take it off if when I do decide who's going to take this card or receive this card, I can easily remove the dimensionals that's the sentiment that's there and replace it. And I can do that more easily with dimensionals. Now, am I happy with that? I think I'm very happy. I'm only just a little bit hesitant about this little piece protruding from the edge here. And let me see. I've got one thing that I can use for that. And I'll put in a couple of bits of bling. And I think what I need needs to be gold, does it? Yes, I think I want to use these. All right, so it doesn't have to be large. I'm just going to take these ones from here. Just putting them in a random placement. I like to cluster them together, and I like to put them into a triangle, if that can make sense. So in this case, I think it's an isosceles triangle. Okay, and that's it. So from humble beginnings, where we had a single die, and where is it? Well, let's just bring up the cards that we're featuring anyway. So we've got, this was the common element across all cards. As you can see here, we've got a gold. We've got a pink, a yellow, and a blue one, and we presented it in 3 different ways. And I think this way is the most different, by a long shot, certainly. But it's still the same thing, but we've just reconfigured it. And I suppose the moral to this is, think a little outside the box when you're preparing something or thinking about a project to do, and see what you can come up with. What I tend to do is I place all of my elements on the glass mat, and I position them and move them around until I'm happy with what it is that I'm potentially going to make. And this one, I'm very happy with it. I like the height, I like the texture, and I like the surprise where I didn't actually keep it intact, but I cut it down to the buds. And there's a number of techniques in all of these. And so to that end, I'd like to say, I hope you learned something, and I hope you've enjoyed that. But once again, as I say each time, I hope to see you next time on Michael's Card Art. Thank you very much, and you take care. Bye.